Ben ritrovati lunedì mattina sul floor del New York Stock Exchange. In questo momento indici in territorio negativo dopo la lunga sequenza di record e di guadagni, ma ne parliamo con il mio ospite qui sul floor. Come vedete è Kenneth Polcari, che è il direttore delle operazioni sul floor per O'Neil Securities. Kenny, ben ritrovato.
How are you?
I am very well. How are you?
I'm great, thank you.
So Kenny, are we at the top of the market?
I think we're at the top temporarily, right? Because listen, we've broken out. We came through 1900. There's really nothing above us in terms of real resistance. So the market's trying to feel its way, right? Where is it running into some natural resistance, and where is it going to pull back to, right? Today, this is a big week, this whole week, big week in terms of macroeconomic numbers in this country. Employment report, ADP on Wednesday, the non-farm payroll on Friday. Certainly those are big numbers that are keeping investors kind of on the edge. But really, from an international point of view, the ECB on Thursday is going to be kind of the number that speculators and traders and investors are going to watch, because there's a lot of chatter of what the ECB is going to do on Thursday. Are they going to cut rates? Are they going into negative territory? How are they going to continue to help and restore economic activity in Europe?
And the risk, if the speculation is right, the ECB might be really aggressive, and this could actually have a different impact on the market. Instead of, sending the market up, it might actually scare the market.
Well, it may scare the market because it may send the message that, hey, look, things are worse than maybe we had been discussing all this time, and so a more drastic measure needs to be taken. So in fact, that could spook the market. On the other hand, if there's enough chatter about that prior to Thursday and people get comfortable with the idea that that could possibly happen, then you may see the market initially sell off, but then stabilize, because people would have been well advised that that was kind of the tone. So over the next couple of days, it's going to be very important, which is, I think, why you see low volumes in Europe today. I mean, the markets were all on the green in early trade, but volumes remain low. Here in this country, volumes remain low. They have remained low now for a good month and a half anyway, very, very low. As really investors are kind of taking a step back from it, right? And traders are not so sure which way this market is going. Could it spike higher, or could it in fact pull back? And until they get a better read, I think they're going to kind of just sit on the sidelines.
And actually, Kenny, I am reading more and more bearish comments, and actually until just a couple of weeks ago, you can only find bullish comments.
Right.
Now a lot of strategists are actually saying that we might have a very good summer, but then the lack of volatility is going to be really worrisome, and the last 3 months of the year we might even just go steeply down.
Well, it's interesting because you can look at this lack of volatility in two ways. You can look at it as complacency, which will catch people by surprise if in fact some event happens that they weren't expecting. On the other hand, a low VIX would signal no fear, right? So a sense of stability. So people getting more comfortable with what they think the environment really looks like. And that's kind of where you have to be cautious, because as long as it kind of goes along like that and you don't get some extraneous event that people were not expecting, then the market can actually kind of just churn along. It won't necessarily spike higher, but nor will it spike lower, right? It'll trade tightly. And so you have to keep your eyes on this VIX, only in the sense that maybe this is the new normal. Maybe we are going back to a VIX of 12 is going to be the new normal. And we won't know that yet until we get a little bit further through this, through the summer and through some economic numbers. Now, don't forget, earlier in the year, a lot of strategists were talking about the second half of the year actually being stronger and actually pushing the market to new highs in the second half of the year. I still think that's what's going to happen. The only wild card here is now what's going to happen on Thursday with the ECB, and what message is a struggling Europe going to really send to the rest of the global market.
What a lot of people are saying that anyway, an ECB intervention might be very good for the market, especially in the long term. We had, a lot of volatility, a lot of liquidity pumping for the Federal Reserve for so many years. Now it's probably the ECB role, and in Europe, this case is going to sustain U.S. and emerging market like the Federal Reserve did for Europe and the emerging market.
Well, what's very interesting about this whole ECB conversation is, don't forget, what was it? 3 years ago already, when Mario Draghi came out and said whatever it takes, and that ignited this European rally. Meanwhile, all he did was say words, right? Whatever it takes. They didn't actually do anything. And so this recovery in Europe over the last 3 years has really all been based on conversation. But now what you see happening is that the European recovery is struggling, and so now is this point. What are they going to do? Yes, the Fed is starting to pull back. Yes, the U.S. recovery seems to be on track. But then if the U.S. pulls back and the Fed pulls back, what is that going to say about Europe? And so that's why Thursday is going to be so important for so many people, because they're waiting to see what Mario Draghi and the ECB are going to initiate.
And instead, here in the U.S., you were mentioning a lot of economic data. Of course, you're waiting for the ones, Wednesday and Friday about the job market. the first quarter has been horrible, even worse than we expected. And the data that are coming, they're not that stellar. Look at today, the number that we had on the manufacturing.
Right.
So what is going on? A lot of people are revising up the GDP estimates for this quarter, but maybe it's too soon.
Might be too early. We're going to get that at the end of the month, right? So you get 30 days before you get the first read on second quarter GDP. By now, everyone has dismissed the first quarter GDP as an outlier. It was due to the bad weather. Things were not nearly as bad as the numbers would dictate. And so people are, gearing up for what they think is going to be a better second and then third and going into the fourth quarter. My sense is it does feel that way. The recovery, although frustratingly slow, does at least feel like it's making progress, right? It's kind of 2 steps forward, 1 step back. And so it's not necessarily happening as fast as a lot of people would like, especially at this stage in the recovery. And the Fed and really investors are still nervous over the outlook for housing, the outlook for what rates are potentially going to do for housing. And we're right in the thick of the housing season. This is the spring selling season now, right? We're into June. It should be very strong. And what we're seeing is not so strong, right? There is some demand for new housing, but existing housing is still coming under some pressure. And so that's going to also speak to the health of the consumer, the health of the buyers, right? First-time home buyers for sure, as well as even people that might be second-time home buyers really taking a step back and wondering, do I need to make this step? Do I really need to upgrade to a bigger house if I'm still unsure?
So all this will just have an impact on the market this week. So we have to stay put until Thursday, basically, until Wednesday, Thursday.
Yeah, I think, listen, today and tomorrow, you're going to start to digest the numbers. But Wednesday's going to be a big day, Thursday for sure, and then Friday in this country with the non-farm payrolls number. And it's going to be very, very interesting to see how they spin this number, right? Don't forget, last month when it blew the roof off the bus, they talked about, this demand that had been building and building and building during all that cold weather. So it's going to be interesting to see how they really spin this number on Friday. So
How can they sell the numbers?
can they sell the number, right?
We are used to that. Thank you, Kenny, and have a great week.
Thank you.
Grazie a voi per l'attenzione. Alla prossima.